Hi, hello, welcome to my backyard. How have you been? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're okay with the change of scenery today because listen, it is a beautiful day here in Texas. And honestly, since we moved to this house, I live on my deck. If I can be out here, baby, listen, I live for this place. And I think it's because it reminds me so much of my grandmother's house and like growing up and us sitting on the deck. And I just didn't get this when we lived in Austin proper. We moved out about 20 minutes outside of Austin a couple of months ago, and this is just such a sanctuary and such an oasis. And I know that that is obviously not the topic of today's video, but we just have to appreciate this. So I decided, because it's a beautiful day, that I'm going to sit outside instead of being in my office and filming this video with you. So I figured today would be a really fun day to just debrief my recent accelerator program. You guys know that I launched SYSTMS CAMP. It kicked off in July, so it was a month of programming, and I promoted it all through June, and now it's officially over. I've had about a week and a half to 2 weeks to listen to my wind chimes, guys. Ugh, what a vibe. But I've had about a week and a half to 2 weeks to just debrief, get feedback from everybody who took the initial cohort, and really just think about what does the future look like for this program. And I thought, what better way than to do it with you? First things first, what was SYSTMS CAMP? So SYSTMS CAMP was my accelerator program that I launched, like I mentioned. It launched and was announced in June, and I ran a month-long cohort from July 7th through August 1st. So what does all that mean? What is an accelerator program? Why did I build it this way? I have really been in what you could say is a transition in my business and kind of just what does education look like for me? And I have really been on this mission, even with my clients, to really put the power back into everyone's hands to feel confident enough to build on their own and to really just overhaul their business on their own, own their processes, know what's working, know what's not working, and be able to fix that at any given time. And so that was the whole point of this program, is to get people into this kind of contained learning environment that allowed them to know the insides and the outs of their business. And from that, be able to say, okay, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. But what I did was really build a structure that removed all of the chaos, the overwhelm, and really just guided people through how to actually fix their workflows. And so what we did, the program started with me actually auditing every single person's customer journey map. And so that was really the value here, is that everyone joined the program with a fully remapped customer journey. And I plugged in, put a form here, you can build an automation here, we can, oh, look, there's a gap and we need to close this loop. Here's how we do it, right? Whether it's an email list or a funnel or whatever. So I think that was the biggest value add, was getting this fully remapped customer journey, because a lot of the time people just can't really see where gaps are or where there's opportunity to improve their business and their workflows. So that was phase 1 of the program, or rather phase 0, okay? So then every week was focused on a specific area of the customer journey. Week 1, sales and partial onboarding. Week 2 was partial onboarding and project execution. Week 3 was all about project offboarding and how to kind of close the loop on your projects. And then week 4, we talked about, really making sure that you audit regularly, how to actually test your processes and remove your bias of building processes that are not for you, but for your overall customer experience. And then within that, obviously, I had set curriculum. I have this method that I teach called the domino method. I've already done a video on that. I'll link it up above for you to learn how to basically take one manual trigger and automate a sequence of tasks. And then we talked about, what is your client experience baseline? So what can you 100,000% replicate for every single customer and client without feeling interrupted, without friction. Like, even if you're busy, right? Like, clients should still get the exact same experience no matter how much you've put on your plate, because that has nothing to do with them, right? That's you, and that's capacity planning. And so we went through all of that. And then week to week, this is like where it gets more intense. We had calls Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday was all, concept and strategy and theory and overall themes, right? Wednesday was a no tech day. You were not allowed to use tech in order to make decisions for your business. And I think that is a huge issue point with a lot of businesses, B2B, service-based, whatever you want to call yourself, creative businesses, because a lot of people, and I know this because I've worked with over 400 companies, that most people, most brands choose their processes based on the technology that they've selected, not choosing the tech based on their processes, if that makes sense. And so on Wednesdays, you were not allowed to use tech in class, and you had to come up with the process and the solution without any tech involved. So a great example of that, in week 1, we talked all about inquiry forms. That was one of the topics that we had. And so you had to come up with what was going to be in your inquiry form, what kind of data you were going to collect in your CRM. And then your homework was to then research the tech based on that process. And then everybody came in on Friday, and it was an open co-working session for Q&A, but also to just like live build and have accountability to actually build out that tech. So I was available, obviously, through all of that, and helping people, refine their processes, and then ultimately picking the best tech that was best for them. And so that was really the structure and the curriculum of the program in a nutshell. Obviously, I provided other resources, and we also did like a lot of other things that I didn't initially set out to do, but it was because our program was so small. So I had initially set out to have an 8-person cohort. I didn't want more than 8. Let's actually say it that way. I did not want more than 8 people in every cohort, and I still feel that way. We had 3 in our first cohort, which at the beginning I was a little bummed about, but then once we actually got into the swing of things, and like even the week before when I was doing everyone's customer journey, I was like, how the hell would I double this number? Like, it was so much brain work on me. And so I'm really glad actually that I did not sell out my first cohort, and I had the flexibility to really just like refine and tweak and figure out what worked and what didn't, so that for future cohorts or whatever the program's going to look like, I now know exactly what to expect and like what I can tweak here and there to make it the best. I think the other thing to mention here is that I knew every single one of the 3 people that came in, and I've known them for quite a while. And so I also was super grateful and thankful that I knew everyone joining, because it took a lot of the edge off. I know that kind of maybe sounds a little odd or strange, but I had a lot of nerves coming into this program. For those of you watching that don't know my career history, I actually taught K through 5 for 2 years, and then I went into adult workforce, and I was teaching like almost retirement age men like how to manage their time and like team build. And so I'm not a stranger to the classroom. Also, throughout like my consulting career, I've also had like a couple of programs throughout the years that like I was kind of like playing around with the idea of, and like, they just didn't stick, which was fine because I had to figure out my flow. And I think, when I look back on this accelerator program, this is the lane that I should be in. And I'm really excited for that to continue and to really just like be able to share my expertise and put the power back in people's hands. There's this weird, it's so funny because I was in a call on Friday, and we were talking about Instagram ads, and like every single person selling programming and selling content right now, it's like everything's $97. Everything's like wipe everything and follow my advice, follow my curriculum. And that is just not what I want for my business. It's not what I want for people in my audience. Like, yes, I can give you the theory, I can give you the concept, but you have to make it your own for your business. And I feel like a lot of people who don't have a teaching background don't have the experience to do that. Listen, I will call people out. I don't care. But I think that was something where it was like the way that I'm teaching this can be transformed through any business and be taken on by any type of creative business, and you can be successful with it. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of cohort 1. Honestly, I think that that's like a nice way to summarize the first bullet point on my list.
All right.
Quick reality check. If you're still figuring out how to deliver your offer after somebody has paid you, you have built all of your workflows backwards, okay? It doesn't make you a bad business owner, but it just means that your systems are duct tape and vibes, and that is no way to scale your business. So that's why I made you a full playbook to help fix that. My customer journey playbook walks you through every part of your client journey and shows you exactly where your back end is breaking down. From sales to onboarding to client delivery, and yes, even how you get referrals. Ready to dive in? You can grab it for free below.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Now back to the video. So what's next? Like overall feelings, just kind of like keep on this tangent. I didn't realize that was my second bullet point and I was already there. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I am chomping at the bit to get the next iteration launched. And why I said iteration is because everyone, all 3 people, I know like when you say everyone, you think it's like a mass number, but again, the 3 founding students of this program all echoed each other in wanting a community space, wanting a few extra things to just like, 1, stay accountable, 2, co-build. Everyone loved the idea of co-building together and want more opportunity to do that. I had one student who we knew that she was very busy kind of coming into the program and, was a little apprehensive of like, I think I have too much client work to like give this the time of day that it needs. And so that was also feedback too of like, how can we, figure out what this looks like to either like not take clients while you're going through this program, or how to kind of just like balance things a little bit better. Maybe it's an extended longer program. Maybe it's a hybrid. And that actually leads me to one point of like future program is that I want this to be an in-person event. That is my dream. My dream is to have, 8 to 10 freelancers, founders coming together here in Austin and doing all of the curriculum over a 4 to 5 day retreat here. That is my ultimate goal. And that is slated. I have it preliminary in my brain, but the goal is to launch that end of April, early May 2026 and run 1 live cohort a year. Maybe if this scales the way that I'm hoping it does, maybe we do one in the spring, one in the fall. But that's what I see, because it's so funny because I also like to reflect back. Every call was only slated to be an hour, and every call was minimum 90 minutes. Like we were just vibing and just like getting really good work done that I didn't mind staying on calls longer. And so it was kind of one of those things of like, what could happen if we all came together in person? And I don't know if you guys know this, but I actually do events. I feel like this is not something that I ever talk about on this channel. I have been in events for almost 15 years as like a side hustle, producing creator events like Justin Moore's sponsor games. Like that is one of the events that I produce. I produce communities here in Austin and I run them and manage them. And I do 2 events every year at South by. Like I have been in events for so long that it's almost a joke now that I don't have my own event. Right? And so I just envision this program being a 4 to 5 day retreat that people come to Austin, whether you already live here or you want to come in, and then we end the retreat with like some kind of culminating event where we either go to ACL or we go to a soccer game or we go float the river or whatever, right? There's so many opportunities for team building and community, right? And so that leads me to, what is the future of this program look like? Really leaning into the idea of community. I was really against, if I'm being honest. When I first launched this program, I was like, we don't need a community platform. We don't need to do this. Like I'm not building this program for people to make friends. I'm building this program for people to build better businesses. But I didn't realize how natural the team building component was actually going to come within the program. And I think especially like the larger the groups you have, it's also harder to cultivate that space. And it was like, yeah, why wouldn't we create a community space? So what does the future of this program look like? Please do not hold me to a lot of this because we're still in development. We're still doing our postmortem. But what I'm envisioning is that this program is a hybrid between an accelerator program and an on-demand accessible community. And I know that that is like two contradictory terms, but what I'm envisioning is this like 24/7 accessible online space where people can tap in, fix an area of their business, help get guidance on launching a new product, really just like meeting them where they are, and also running the accelerator live within that on a regular basis. So everything will be pre-recorded, but if you want this live component, we would still run it. You'd basically just sign up for the live cohort that you want to attend, and then have everything just like available as on demand. So I know that that doesn't sound like that exciting as I'm like thinking through it, but I can see it. I can see it being this incredible space. And it's funny because I was talking to ChatGPT about this, and I went to Create and Cultivate's festival a few weeks ago in LA, and I'm like, I loved the festival. Don't get me wrong. Loved it. It was great. But I left feeling like all I did was share my Instagram 100 times. And I don't feel like from the speaker list, like I really got anything. And I was talking to ChatGPT about this of like, how can I stand out from this like vortex of incredible programming and like space to be in as a founder? And what I realized is like where I sit versus where Create and Cultivate sits is that you're walking away from anything that I provide, resources, curriculum, whatever. You are walking away with tangible, actionable resources and not just pretty Instagram photos, right? And that ultimately, we all know this. God, I feel like this video is turning into like a hate against Instagram, and it's really not, guys, like I promise. But I feel like there's so much more to selling and doing good business than what you put out. And I think we are in this continued race of virality and marketing and like this like you have to put out content, you have to put out content, you have to put out content, when really what it comes down to is how you build relationships with the people in your ecosystem. And a lot of people are so focused on that external validation that they're not sitting here going, hey, let me reach back and go reach out to a client I had 7 months ago just to say hi. We spent so much time on that inside this program, talking about how do you reconnect with people when the invoice is done? How do you continue this loop and this cycle and just keep people connected to you? And what it comes back to is how really, truly what it comes down to is at the end of the day, yes, the deliverables matter, but how you made somebody feel when they decided to hire you, when maybe you were their first ever outsource or you were their first ever expense in their business, how you made them feel is the only thing that matters to scaling your business. I mean, truly, seriously. So I'm going to get off of my soapbox, and I just wanted to like talk through it and get your insight. I would love to know leave it in the comments, send me a DM, what your thoughts are on hearing now the program versus like, I know a lot of people, kind of joined the wait list right after it closed. Some people were like, it wasn't the right time. And so would love to kind of really just hear, like, now that you've heard the debrief, what are your thoughts here? Yeah. And the next steps, we are going to launch this new refined version November 8th, but I am going to drop a wait list down below. So I definitely recommend signing up just to like get more info too. Like I am not planning on spamming emails and like doing insane sales. It's really like if you feel like you want support in your business, this is here for you. It's available all the time. And yeah, that's actually one last thing I'm going to say that I learned from all of this is I absolutely hate launch cycles. There was nothing worse for me in my business than the month of June of creating content, sending emails, like hoping that I was communicating effectively. And I just hated it. And I think that's also too why I'm leaning more towards something being available regularly, so I don't ever have to put myself through this again, and I can just talk about it all the time and it does well, right? So that's that. I think that's it for my debrief. I'm going to go enjoy this. Look at this sky. Just look at this sky. Listen to my wind chimes. I don't know if you can hear them. They're like kind of more quiet in the background. But I'm going to go enjoy the day, and I'll see you in my next video.
Ew.
Hey, did you know that staying up till midnight answering client emails isn't a business strategy? Download my free customer journey workbook and start fixing the systems breaking behind the scenes today.